everybody. Welcome to our session today. I'm Julie Robinson, the founder of Menopause Health, and really pleased to welcome you to our session today, talking about what really works with support for menopause in the workplace. And I'll be introducing our guests very soon. I've just popped a quick comment in the chat so that you can see that we are going to send you an info pack straight after this session, and you'll also get a link to the video if you wanted to watch it back a little later on today as well. So I hope you're having a good day. We know that all of you are going to be extremely busy. We'll try and keep the session to half an hour, but allow some time for Q&A at the end for anyone that does want to ask any questions. Please pop those into the chat box. We are so happy that you've actually taken time out of your busy day to come and join this session, because at Menopause Health, we are absolutely passionate and believe that everyone deserves to get the right information and the practical help that they need and the support that's going to help them cope better with menopause. That's individually and in the workplace, which is very much what we're focusing in on today. We don't want to feel that there's any need for anyone to have to go through menopause alone. And that's really what we found to work so successfully at Menopause Health. So I'm Julie Robinson. I'm the founder of Menopause Health. I had a rotten menopause. I don't want anyone to have to go through what I did. And that's really behind the driving force for setting up Menopause Health and making sure that everybody else gets that right help and support. But let me introduce you to two other people that are similarly passionate and have fantastic experience and a wealth of knowledge to share with you today. First of all, Ali, would you like to say hello?
Hi everybody, and it's great that we've got so many people with us. So I'm Ali Shenwell. I'm now a mental health trainer and really passionate about encouraging people and empowering them to take control of their menopause. But how I got to this place is that I helped lead the menopause campaign in HSBC, and we brought the lovely Julie in to help us with the support group side of our programme. And we just really needed to have the opportunity to bring people together. And we were thrown into COVID, weren't we, Julie? So it was just like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? So we then went online and we had the half an hour sessions every Wednesday, 12 o'clock without fail. And we just brought people together to just learn about the topic, share, ask questions, just have that safe place and almost that little bit of me time, like midweek, just to talk about this. And yeah, it was well, we'll talk about how it went, but it was really amazing and it was brilliant. And so now it's actually 2 years tomorrow that I joined you, and I've now been doing this for the last 2 years, and I absolutely love every minute.
Well, happy anniversary. Oh, I'll send you flowers. We're so delighted to have you helping us, Ali. And now over to you, Holly. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you're doing.
Hi everyone, very good afternoon. Great for you to join us this afternoon. My name's Holly Edwards, and very similar to Ali. I've been working with Menopause Health now for the past 7 months, but previous to that I was working for Aldermore Bank in a diversity, inclusion and wellbeing role, which I'm going to talk more about throughout the session as I led the initiative in the bank there. And hoping that we engage with you today to kind of give you that insight in terms of what worked for us in our organisations and what led us to now working with mental health ourselves. So back to you, Julie.
Thank you very much, Holly. Absolutely great. And of course, we featured, didn't we, through Aldermore on World Menopause Day on the British Menopause Society website. So that really does say, here's a really great example of what can be done to make a big difference. So the business case for supporting people through menopause at work is obvious. It's now being spoken about, well, certainly on social media. We've had all sorts of Twitter storms going on recently, but certainly at political level. And the all-party parliamentary group, their women's health strategy and their report and their key recommendations have been pushing to try and make many really important changes that are going to help people to stay at work, which we know is absolutely the top of the political agenda right now. I've got one quote that I'd like to read out that I think brings all of this together for what the government wants, what every company needs, and what we all want as well. And this is from the Chartered Institute for Personnel Development, CIPD. The level of support women receive at this stage of their working life can be pivotal in facilitating their continued economic participation, as well as the ability of employers to attract and retain experienced and valuable skills and talent. So one sentence in a nutshell, that's absolutely what we hope to do. Now, we've been running these support groups, reaching thousands of people, and we really learned a lot. We get a lot of feedback and evaluation and reviewing our impact. But we want to look at, well, what has worked? We've worked with huge organisations and NHS trusts and much smaller groups, more intimate groups, and we're really picking up on exactly the same thing that works for everyone. And we're going to start by sharing some of those insights. And Ali, you can start us off. What worked really well, and what would you like to share your top tips with us?
So I think the first thing is that for most people, looking at menopause and supporting in an organisation isn't their day job. So they're trying to do a day job and, you know, be passionate and get people engaged in the topic. So having the information provided for us, not really having to sort of go and check that it's all accurate and you know, trustworthy. So you provided all of that for us, which was just a godsend, to be honest. Having the invites there so that we can just share them out, you can just get them on with your comms team and get them out to, if you've got menopause advocates or champions. So just having that trustworthy information that's evidence-based, the calendar invites, so nothing to design, nothing to worry about, just encouraging people to come along, which just made my life so much easier when you're trying to do that and obviously a day job, which I know many people on the call will be the same. The other challenge that you have is that you'll always get those people that desperately want to come along but can't always make it, but do want to learn. They just want that extra bit of information. So having the recordings and having the fact sheets available, one, it populated my menopause intranet page beautifully with, you know, the fact sheets, and also just the recording, so people could. Now, if you're like me, sometimes you just think, I know I've been on something, but I can't remember what I've just heard because it's just gone in and out with brain fog. So I could watch back, and also those that couldn't make it at that time for whatever reason, whether it's their role or it wasn't their day at work or meetings come along, they could just get back in. So having that was a really great resource, and it made it so much easier. And if somebody asked you about something, you could just signpost them straight to the internet page, straight to the fact sheet. Brilliant. The other thing I noticed most was the weeks that we had the sort of community Q&A sessions, and I think sometimes, unless you've experienced it, people aren't quite sure what they are, but it's just that opportunity to not have a topic-led session, for people to connect and talk and share and listen, and any combination of those that they want to do, and have that sort of find that they can connect with people within the organisation. And I remember a couple of times, particularly in this session, where people would turn up and they suddenly realised that they were almost sitting next to somebody that was also going through the same thing, but they'd never said a word to anybody else. And then it gave them the opportunity to connect. And then they could just sort of, you know, go for that walk in the fresh air, or just have a moment if they were struggling with something. So it did bring people together, which was great. And I think the one clear message you always get from the session is, I don't feel alone now, which is so important. And then I think the third thing I always sort of say when people talk to me about the sessions now is, they say, you know, is it just for women of a sort of typical age, or is it for everybody? And obviously that's entirely up to you as an organisation, but for most organisations it's open to everyone. And I'll just tell you a little story about a moment we had in the group that we ran, and it was open to everybody. We, you know, it was I say it was Wednesday at 12 o'clock. It was one of those times, and we had quite a number of people turn up most weeks. And one week, this young lad turned up, and you know, it's like, you're welcome. You know, this is the menopause support group. You know, what's brought you along today? And he said, I'm just really scared, and I'm really worried about my mum. I know that something's not right. She's not how she used to be. She's mentioned the word menopause, but she doesn't seem to be able to find any support or any help where she works. And he said, I'd heard about this because people had mentioned it in the office. He said, I thought I'd come along and see if I could learn something and just find out. He said, because I don't know how to help her, and I'm a little bit scared, really. So we were just like, absolutely. So we just talked about what he was hearing and seeing at home and helped him. And honestly, I think the poor lad was going to be adopted by every person on that support group. It was just like, can I have a son that's at home that cares about me and wants to understand more? So it absolutely is about everybody. And sometimes people say to me, well, you know, how do I get more people, or how do I engage others in this topic? And so sometimes we had a bring a friend. So if somebody was a bit nervous, to have a bring a friend session. And actually I had a couple of women whose line managers were a bit like, what is it you go to every Wednesday at 12 o'clock? You know, why are you sort of not, you know, always blocked out in your diary? And they were like, well, it's the menopause support group, come along. So we had a bring a line manager session, and people brought their managers so they could see what they were learning about in their work time. So yeah, you know, we've had book clubs and all sorts of ideas just to open up the session. So there's the topic-led information which people really find empowering and useful, but there's also those times to connect with each other and learn from each other and just so not feel alone. So yeah, it's really is a topic for everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ali. And I think you're so right. It is very holistic in the way that it's approached, that it isn't just, here's all the information, go read it. You know, it's very much about, let's listen to you, what's happening, how can we help you? And if you're supporting somebody in their workplace, you're supporting them at home, or vice versa. You know, this is affecting all of us. And everyone that we know or work with at some point in our lives. So fantastic examples there. So over to you, Holly, now. What have you really found? What can you share with everybody today?
Thank you very much, Julie. Yeah, so when I was working back on Aldermore Bank, like I was saying, I was the diversity, inclusion and wellbeing lead. So my role was to develop the whole strategy and execute it and embed it. And part of that, as you know, it was very much on the health and wellbeing side, but also we had very much of a gender equity focus on the D&I side. So women's health and menopause in particular was kind of a key focus area for us. So what did we do? If you know, anybody on the call today is thinking of starting an initiative or weaving it into those existing things that are in place, well, I actually started off by taking a lot of time listening to colleagues, listening to managers and leadership teams, engaging male allies as well in that conversation, because it is really a conversation and a topic for everybody, whether you are directly or indirectly experiencing it. Then I kind of set up a SharePoint page dedicated to menopause in the work. There was lots of links and resources and fact sheets and links to external pages, but also our internal signposting and different elements that it involved. One important element was engaging the support and the advocacy of an exec leader to obviously champion the initiative, and then get the support of the comms team to really kind of envelop this in a really kind of, you know, comprehensive campaign. It really did need that support from the comms campaign. So we had initial colleague and line manager support sessions, which were that introduction for everybody. But actually the key element for us really was the mental health support sessions. So it was a 10-week support programme that not only continued the momentum, but it gave that additional support element to those that were experiencing it, or those that wanted to support others or wanted to find out what would happen in the future, for example. So our weekly support sessions ran on a Thursday lunchtime every week. They worked really, really well to continue that momentum of the initial launch of the initiative. So where the initial colleague and the manager training, they provided the overview and the facts, the support sessions provided that real deep dive into the different symptoms, other aspects that you might want to consider during that menopause transition. Some of the sessions that were really popular at Aldermore were the HRT session, debunking some of those myths around HRT, but also the sessions around brain fog and hot flushes and night sweats and weight gain. They were really, really popular, and people got involved in the conversation, shared their experiences. And you know, some of the feedback in terms of what difference it made to people following those sessions were, you know, far beyond what I ever thought was possible from this initiative. And one such quote from a colleague of mine, Sam at Aldermore, she was saying that it was a really big surprise to her that, you know, the workplace was the place that she found the help and support that she needed. She never even thought that it could be possibly with the workplace. And she went on to say that through the sessions, you know, the understanding that she got through those support sessions and what was actually happening to her, because this is the key thing, many people don't even know that they are at the start of that transition. Was that she enabled her to feel confident enough to go to her GP, ask about what her options were, and the option that she took has completely turned her life around. You know, she said that it was like waking up anew, afresh. And actually, Sam featured on the ITN film, didn't she, that we recorded, that's on the World Menopause Society website. So there's some of the things we put in place, with the mental health weekly support sessions being the integral part that kind of gave it that momentum. And, you know, people, we get asked all the time about, well, do we need a menopause policy? You know, what kind of workplace adjustments do we need as well? Which, you know, having a policy and or guidance in place is all well and good. That's one tiny aspect of that initiative. And being able to provide the relevant adjustments, you know, really is the bare minimum. What we found, both from being on the part of the side of the organisation, now working within mental health itself, is that people really want to feel supported. They want to be heard. They want their voice to be heard. They want to feel like they're not alone, like Ali has just been referring to, and that it is a safe space, that they're not going to be judged. You know, they're not going to be looked on differently for sharing those experiences and actually reaching out for help if that's what they need. So for us at Aldermore, it did make a really big impact. So it was a key element for us. You know, not only does it involve impacts with the individual, it also helps the organisation just in terms of that colleague engagement and therefore that retention and also attraction into the organisation as well.
Thank you, Holly. And I'll follow on with that by saying, you know, we do look at the impact and we have evaluation questions that we share with the organisations. And really look at what people have said. This has really worked. This is what else we need. And it is one part of this overall jigsaw, isn't it? The support is part. Of course, we feel it's a really vital part because it's ongoing. It's not just a one-off. We've set this up now. We just hope everybody's going to talk about menopause openly. The culture has to change slowly and gradually. And that is what we've been able to see. So why are we different? Is there something that Menno Health does that we can tell you about that really makes the difference to people and to the companies they work for? So Holly, just a couple of things from you that you found make it so easy for people to implement.
Yeah, so on top of the sessions themselves, obviously, what we provide here at Menno Health is the follow-up material. And that's key, really, because great having the sessions that you're invited to, you know, whatever time of the day and how frequent you decide to have those in your organisation. But the follow-up material really is key because, you know, following the session, you're back to work, aren't you, generally? And so you might forget what, you know, you're even focusing on. So being able to then look at the workbook, look at the topic that you specifically focused on that week, get involved in the exercise that you covered that week as well, because often you can't do it at your desk or in the workplace. Is really, really helpful, and it enables you to go back in your own time and perhaps do some extra research on the topic. So I know for a lot of my colleagues, and for me as well at the time, that was really, really impactful. And just the flexibility, you know, of the sessions as well. When I was leading the initiative, I asked people when would be the best time for you that these sessions would run, you know, what day, what time of the day, and we just did it to suit the majority of the people. So it was, you know, it was actually set by them. So it worked really, really well.
That's so true. We are listening to what works. And for example, with the teaching academies, it's been 4:15 in the afternoon, 4:30. NHS trusts at the end of a shift, making that 6:30 in an evening, or, you know, some people want this to be coinciding with coffee break in the morning, but it's setting aside that time that everybody knows is going to be as convenient as possible for most of the people. And as you say, go back, read again. The downloadable digital magazine is great. You have that to keep. And all of the links are there to signpost, and also the videos of the topic and information. But Ali, let me bring you in as well. What would you say are the things that you think make the difference?
So we're not here just to deliver sessions. It's absolutely about working with you and in your organisation. And so it's really from that first early steps of actually promoting the sessions, encouraging people to come along. As I say, sometimes we'll have those sort of themed times with a bring a friend, bring a line manager. So we'll work with you to sort of help you get it onto your comms and get people there, and encourage people to participate and spread the word, really. So we'll work with you and understand where you are with your organisation. So it's not about us just turning up at, you know, 5 minutes before the session, deliver it, and then you don't see us again till the next week. It's working with you all the way through. And I think the one thing that we get feedback on regularly, Julie, I think, and you know, it always sort of warms our heart, isn't it, is that people say, oh, do you know, you've gone through a topic that I would never have spoken about. And we're not embarrassed, you know, we will say all of those words and talk about all of those parts of our body that, you know, are impacted by menopause symptoms, and we get it out there, and it just makes it easier, and it breaks that taboo, which is, you know, I think there's two key things, isn't there? People don't want to feel alone, but they also don't want to feel it's a taboo topic that they can't talk about. And we help with both of those. We make people feel not alone, and we also explore all aspects of menopause. So yeah, most definitely, I would say they were the two key things, but working with you in your organisation. So
great. And I agree. It's about, there is still a level of embarrassment about this. You know, it's definitely improving, and thanks to everyone, that's those celebrities that are driving this to get it on television as frequently as they do. But behind all of that, it just gradually allows people to be able to talk. But to have an outsider come in objectively to run that session, whose job it is to talk about the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, this makes it much easier than you thinking, how am I going to broach this very intimate personal subject, talking about libido and vaginal dryness? Don't be embarrassed. We can do that for you. Let us take it on. It's so important that we do tackle these subjects as well, because those are the things that often are the things that people have been keeping secret inside, that haven't even seen their doctor or won't even talk to their partner about. And when you can break that cycle of silence, it opens the door to all the treatments and all the help and all the knowledge that you need. I'm going to add my little bit in here. So what makes mental health different is that we try and incorporate some movement. Now, I won't use the word exercise, it puts people off, but movement is medicine for menopause. So we are about empowering people to take control. Now, there are obviously things about treatments that you need and GP help, etc. But movement and exercise, if we can make it part of the way we look after ourselves, has a huge impact. We know, of course, it does on our bones, our muscles, our heart, but what we really can't see, but works wonderfully, is that it acts like a medicine for our mood, because there's a cocktail of hormones that are produced when we move that actually lift our mood. So we can just make tiny little differences throughout the day, even though we're tired, we're fatigued, we might be having heavy periods, lack of sleep, hot flushes, along with everything else. Don't tell me to exercise as well. Well, actually, let's just encourage and motivate you to make movement part of the way you look after yourself, and you'll notice some huge differences to how you feel and how you cope with your menopause as well. So I hope that's given you a really good overview of what Menno Health has been doing. Now, I'd love to hear from you. If I've just got some questions here that have popped in. So let's have a quick look here. Okay, thank you. I'm not going to name any names here, but we've had a message here about thank you to Menno Health. We'll share your events with people, and they have a Yama support group. So they're really willing to come in and help. So that's fantastic. And to hear that you've also got an award-winning menopause support group, well done to you. And thank you very much for letting us know about that. And if you've got any questions about getting more involved, then please get in touch with us separately. That it would be great to hear from you. So in the info pack that we're sending you, obviously you've got our phone number, contact details, but we'll explain everything about the options that we've got for you, whether it's our 10-week programs that we've used, for example, with Aldermore and HSBC, and there's 3 sets of 10, so some organisations book up for virtually the year ahead and repeat because they want to reach large numbers. We've got a smaller programme for SMEs, more intimate sessions where you're on video and audio, where groups can come together. It definitely depends what you need, what you want. And we've got the costs, of course, for those. And we've also launching a CPD called Menopause First Aid that's just going to start getting more people able to talk about it, not to go run a support group, but just to be able to have that conversation to know, well, what can I do when somebody tells me they're feeling like this? How can I make sure that they're getting the right help? So we'd love to think that we can help you out. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat box. Or please tell us about what you've been doing and what works for you. Oh, yeah, Lorraine has asked a question. If it's in the last question that you asked, Lorraine, yep, you can get in touch with us and we'll answer any questions about getting more involved with Menno Health as an organisation. Okay. Well, it looks as though we've probably answered your questions, which sounds like we're going to be able to finish dead on time, which is brilliant. So let me just go to here. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Please get in touch if you've got any questions. We really want to make sure that we're here to help and support you and to be able to share what we've done that we found has been so successful so far. But, you know, this is an ever-changing situation and we really want to keep driving this forward. So one day we'll feel that everybody gets the right support and practical help that they need. So thank you so much to Ali. Thank you very much to Holly. And I really look forward to seeing you all again at some point soon. Thanks and bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.